You're in Green Bay, and Ron Wolf acquires Brett Farve. What was that moment like? Can you walk me through the moment that you acquired Favre and just began to realize what you had in him?
Well, Ron. I had been there a couple of weeks. I was a brand new head coach. Ron hired me, of course, and then the year previous, I was with San Francisco, and Ron was with the Jets. And when he was running the Jets personnel department with Dick Steinberg, he graded Favre out as the top player in the draft. Well, Atlanta drafted Favre. Ron goes to Green Bay. I worked out Brett at his college workout in Southern Miss, and there was probably 15 teams there. And so I wrote a big report on him for the 49ers. Now we're together in Green Bay. Ron comes in and goes, hey, I think I want to take one of our number ones. We had two and trade for Brett Farve. And I said, okay. I wasn't quite sure. So I went to my report and I said, great athlete, strong arm, all the good stuff. And then I said, one question mark, I don't know if he can discipline himself enough to play in this system, which was going to be the 49ers system in Green Bay. So, and Ron said, but he's really good, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I know he is. But we went through that for about 10 days. And I think down deep, Ron had already made the deal in his mind. but he was being really good to his new head coach and involving me in that, which was wonderful as I look back on it. But so we do the deal. And then our doctor fails him, won't pass him on his physical. And Ron goes, well, I had a no. I waived that clause in it. I said, I want him. I don't care what, because he had been in a college accident with his hip and so on. And the doctor said, no, I can't do it. And Ron says, well, you have to do it. And so they got into a little thing. I was in the meeting. Make a long story short, Ron fires the doctor. We get Favre. And, instead of playing the 3 years, the doctor thought he could only play 3. He plays 18. And, the rest is history. He had so much to do with my career, and bless his heart, everyone thought we didn't get along, but I was hard on him. I was, but no, we got along great. And I'm so proud of him now. Like I said, I'm going to enjoy this as much as anybody.
How were you hard on him, Mike?
Well, he played the game a certain way, Rich. He would take a lot of chances, and his athletic ability allowed him to do that. And at times it worked. There were times it didn't work. And I thought it was hurting us more than helping us in a lot of the instances. And so I'd try and coach him and tell him you can't do that. And then at some point after the end of one season, we had our exit meeting, and I said, listen, next year we're going to try and eliminate some of the interceptions. We're going to do this. These are the things I want you to think about. And he goes, Mike, I play the game a certain way. He goes, this is how I play. And I said, well, and we're 9-7. We made the playoffs, but don't you want to get to the Super Bowl? And he goes, of course I do. And I said, well, then to be really great, I think you have to do this. You got to work with me on this. And to his credit, he did. He bought in, and you still saw the crazy Brett Farve every once in a while, but he became a very, very solid, strategic, smart quarterback.
That's Mariucci's help too on that front too, right?
Oh, still no. I had great quarterback coaches. Steve was the first one, and then Andy Reid, who had never coached quarterbacks before. I made him the quarterback coach, and then Marty Morningwig was his quarterback coach when I was there, and then they had guys after that. But Steve, and Steve, poor Steve. Every time, and Steve was kind of in the middle. Brett would screw up, and I'd get mad at Steve. Brett would make a mistake, and I get mad at Steve. And so he had to have an iron shorts on the whole time. But I love them both, and they were really close. And Steve, as you know, Steve's an outstanding football coach. He's really, really good. So that was good for Brett as well.
But obviously in our hindsight, and I'm talking with Mike Holmgren here on the Rich Eisen Show, it's just like, sure, it's easy to just play Favre, keep playing him, but this is your first shot at being a head coach, and you pulled the magic man in just game 2 of your tenure there at halftime, and you threw Favre in there, and then I'm sure you remember who Favre's first completed pass was to, right?
Yeah,
Coach.
Was
right?
the other team? Was to the other team?
No, it was to him. Remember, it was batted back to
It
him.
batted up. Oh, that's right. That's right. And he was happy. He was happy as a clam. I'm glad he didn't take his helmet off on that one. You know, I mean, he had more fun playing. But I would say this, Rich. You know, you make a deal and you trade a number one or you draft a kid number one, and what you are saying is he is going to be the guy unless we made a huge mistake. He's going to be the guy. And so, but Don was playing quarterback. Now Don had a very poor first half in that game where I set Brett in the game. But then Don started the next game. But then he got hurt, and that was it. And then Brett came in and won that game right at the end, and then the rest is history. But there was a point in year 2, I think it was, where Mark Brunell was also our quarterback who was steady Eddie. I mean, he was just he was a coach's dream, rarely made mistakes, and really a good player. And we lost a game in Minnesota, I think, and we had a staff meeting, and there was a lot of rumblings about playing Brunell, really. And Steve got up, and I remember banged the table for Favre, and I listened to everybody, but it was a very animated coaches meeting. And I went home that night, and I said, okay, I got a decision to make here. And so I called Brett in the next day, and I said, look, and I said these words exactly. I said, okay, you're the guy. I'm going with you, and we're either going to get to the top of the mountain together or we're going to wind up in a dumpster, but we're going to be together. So that's how I'm treating it. And I think he appreciated that, and I think any quarterback would, coming from their coach. But, yeah, you got to make a decision, and that's the decision I made.
And I think one of the things, too, Coach, that I think fans love about Favre or relate to him is because he's relatable because of the issues that he's had in his life. We all know about the painkillers, and he said he was addicted to them, and he wanted to deal with that. And we lived through, his father passing away and him lighting it up on Monday Night Football against Oakland. I want to give you the floor about the guy that he has become. He's a grandfather now.
No,
Mike. I mean, it's unbelievable when you think about the journey.
Oh, it's so great. I mean, when I was with him in Green Bay when he went into the Packer Hall of Fame, we talked, and Deanna was there, and the kids were there, and I just sat back for a second and thought about those early years and his time and the things he went through, and they went through as a family. And then here he was. I think he's a wonderful husband. He's a wonderful father and grandfather now. And, his life is good. And he grew up, in my opinion. He grew up, and that's one of the things maybe I'm most proud of for him. He is really a fine guy now.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.